I just can't even comprehend what I'm looking at. My mind just can't make sense of it all.
So you're probably wondering why I went to Ukraine during a war. Quick story. Recently I was on the road filming abandoned places across Western Europe. But after 6 long weeks of non-stop traveling and filming, my trip was starting to wind down. Or so I thought. Now here's the thing. I've always had a fascination when it comes to the Soviet Union and the war in Ukraine. Ukraine's one of those places I've always been curious about, but never seriously considered visiting. Plus, who in their right mind would go to a place that's currently being bombed by one of the largest militaries in the world? But right when I was about to book my ticket home, a thought hit me. What if I actually went to Ukraine? Is it even a thing people can do right now? And if it is, how the hell am I going to get there? So after doing a little digging, I found out that it is possible, but it wasn't going to be easy. Because of restricted airspace, the only way to Kyiv is by a 14-hour bus ride from Warsaw, Poland. There's also military checkpoints I'd had to pass through. But the real question wasn't how, it was why. It's because curiosity doesn't sit still. Because sometimes the only way to really understand something is to see it with your own eyes. I didn't just want headlines and news clips. I wanted faces, stories, and truth that didn't make it into the broadcasts. And maybe deep down, I needed to see how people hold on to hope when everything around them is falling apart. Not for the danger, not for the thrill, but for the story. I needed to know, what does life look like in a country at war? I'm sure by now most of you know that if there's a bad idea, I'm probably gonna pick that one. So a few days later, that's exactly what I did. I grabbed a one-way ticket to Kyiv, bought a flight from Rome to Warsaw, and threw myself headfirst into one of the most dangerous places in the world, completely unprepared and with no plan. And that is how it all started. The trip that changed my life.
So I just landed in Warsaw to go to Ukraine tonight. It's gonna be an all-night ride, but so excited, it's not gonna matter.
Warsaw feels alive, bustling, familiar, a place where people go about their lives without a second thought. But tonight I cross into something else entirely.
What's up, man?
I'm stuffing my face with whatever's quick because I know this might be my last meal for a while.
Thank you.
And in true form, I'm running late. After a couple quick tourist shots, I hop in an Uber and hightail it to the bus station. Just in time, I make it to the bus and get in my seat for a long ride east. The lights of Warsaw fade behind me. It's the last place that feels safe before stepping into the unknown. The bus hums along the highway, but sleep is not happening. Ukraine, a name that since the Russian invasion in 2022 has been synonymous with resistance, loss, and a war that wasn't supposed to last this long, or even happen at all. The headlines all blur together. Missile strikes, blackouts, entire cities wiped off the map. But Kyiv isn't just another city, it's a survivor. For over 1,400 years, it stood against Mongol invasions, Nazi occupation, and Soviet rule, and now history repeats itself. Slowly, daylight creeps over Ukraine. After hours of watching the dark horizon stretch endlessly, something shifts. Kyiv. The skyline pushes through the morning haze, and suddenly this isn't just an idea anymore. It's real. My heart starts pounding. The roads widen, the buildings stretch taller, and I feel it, the weight of where I am and what's ahead. And this is the part of the trip where I start asking myself big questions. Is this brave? Is this stupid? Or is it just human? And right about now, I'm banking on a stranger to help me figure that out. Nataliia, found her on Instagram of all places. A tour guide, translator, and as it turns out, a refugee who fled the war herself. She's tough, sharp, knows Kyiv like the back of her hand, and maybe most importantly, she's waiting for me at the bus station. And no, I didn't film her picking me up, because in Kyiv, a bus station isn't just a bus station anymore. It's checkpoints, soldiers, and rules about what you can and can't capture on camera. And trust me, breaking those rules is not high on my to-do list. Finally on the ground, she picks me up and casually drops that she's the Chernobyl tour guide. And just like that, we're off.
What was it about Chernobyl that drew you to it?
The real passion about it came to me from childhood because my dad, he used to play computer game Stalker. It's just somehow this game, the vibe of this game made me so interested in this topic. And once I turned 18, at first I visited it as a tourist several times, and later realized, okay, I can be a perfect tour guide as well, because my knowledge back then already was super big, because I was learning this stuff on my own. And yes, that's a very long story. And unfortunately, when war started, I immediately realized all of it is just over, because Chernobyl is literally border with Belarus.
Yeah.
And Russians literally came from that part.
Yeah.
And they occupied Chernobyl exclusion zone. Also, as you can see, we are literally in the city center. So these hedgehogs, which you can see here laying like this in 2022, when it was the beginning of war, they were all just staying around the entire city Kyiv for the protection purposes. And right now you can just find them sometimes, because unfortunately we still have possibility of Russians to restart their way to Kyiv.
How close were they to Kyiv?
At some point, they've been like 10 kilometers from Kyiv. I live in the outskirts of Kyiv, a very lovely district, but the very first one to be attacked by Russians if they entered the Kyiv.
Right.
So obviously we needed to immediately live somewhere.
So you fled?
Me and my mom, we were refugees in Germany for 1 year. It was the worst time of my life, to be honest.
Yeah, and you left your home.
Yes, leaving your home, I lost my life. I had. The very first step to be back to home was actually some of my former tourists from Chernobyl reaching me and saying if I can help them out with trips to Ukraine, because it's the same as Chernobyl tours. It's more about awareness, showing the real situation, and
Right, and hopefully bringing other people into the country. Every time I've told someone in America that I'm going to Kyiv, they all think I'm going to get blown up and killed, and this is the general idea of what they think. I knew that wasn't true. Like, look, life goes on.
Yes, life goes on, because Ukraine is still home for millions of people, and there is no way we just stop and cry, even though the situation is bad. We have only one life, and we just keep living.
I couldn't imagine my country being invaded. Like,
You can't really imagine that.
Yeah.
Do you know Banksy artist?
yes,
Particularly his stuff.
Banksy. Oh, wow.
These things from him
When did this appear?
already 2 years ago. Basically showing the real situation and like an example to other people as well. And in front of us, the famous hotel Ukraine with the Statue of Independence. The first very loud air raid on February 2022 was sounding exactly here.
I've seen this in so many images. It's so crazy being here. It's a really surreal feeling. And it seems oddly normal.
I know what you mean, yes. It was scary in 2022, when it was still the fresh first year, when people still were not get used to the fact it's nowadays our ordinary life. Because right now, you can barely see people panicking or reacting actively on air raids or something.
You've probably heard so many that people don't really pay much attention to it at this point. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? How often do you hear these air raids?
Since the first day of war, it was more than 55,000 air raids in Ukraine. So A lot. But we all Ukrainians, we have the application which gives you information when it started, when it's over, from which side missiles are flying.
I'm very curious to see what these air raids sound like.
As you're going to stay here for quite some time, you will definitely hear it. So
She told me about the app, and at the time it just felt like another piece of information. But 4 days later in Kharkiv, it became very real.
I've only been here for like 2 hours and already there's an air raid alarm that's going off. I just got a notification on my phone. This whole time I've been...
Attention! Increased air threat in your area. Proceed to the nearest shelter.
There's another...
Increased air threat in your area. Proceed to the nearest shelter.
Guys, look, these are all air raid alarms going off on my phone. Like I was saying, this whole time I've been super chill, but now my nerves are starting to get the best of me. So I've never been to a country that's an active war zone.
She doesn't say much, just gives a small nod, like she's heard that before. Like it's something every outsider says when they first arrive. And then I see it, a sea of flags. At first, it almost looks like an art installation, but it's not.
each flag represents fallen soldier. As you can see, the details, the everything, represents person who is no longer with us.
Oh my God.
Tens of thousands of flags, each one a name, a life. People stand in silence, taking it all in. No words, just grief.
Yeah, I feel almost weird for filming this.
I know what you mean, but...
It's a really sensitive thing to capture.
I'm quite often here. Every time it's this disgusting feeling of how unfair everything that is happening in Ukraine right now.
Some of them look so young. And everybody that's looking, they just look so sad.
Yeah, the most terrible sometimes to see actually, friends or relatives or someone who is coming here and, actually crying or something, so...
Yeah, this is awful. And every single one of these small flags represents someone who's fallen.
Yes.
Oh my God.
But across the border, it's a different story, a different reality, or at least that's what they want you to believe. The war isn't just a war, it's a mission, a special operation to root out Nazis. That's the script, that's the lie they tell on repeat, and people buy it.
Не позволяйте неонацистам и бендеровцам использовать ваших детей, ваших жен и стариков в качестве живого щита. Берите власть в свои руки. Похоже, нам с вами будет легче договориться, чем с этой шайкой наркоманов и неонацистов, которая засела в Киеве и взяла в заложники весь украинский народ.
What Russia's using as a propaganda tool, saying that Ukraine is a Nazi nation, where did that come from?
So, if we look to the history, officially the war in Ukraine was started in 2014. But it was not a full-scale war, it was war...
It's when Russia took over Crimea.
Yes, and a little part of the east of Ukraine as well, Donbass area. You gotta explain that. So there is understanding where this idiotism about the Ukrainian with Nazi came from. As all this stuff started in 2014, Russians, they invaded the east part of Ukraine, saying, made-up story, that this part of Ukraine wants to be Russian just because they speak Russian. In Ukraine, we have our national language, Ukrainian. But on the east part of Ukraine, people mostly speak Russian because they are on the border with Russia. And they invaded, and they started to use it as a reason why they did it. And actually, for the very upsetting reasons, some people from the east of Ukraine, they were happy Russians did it.
You want the Russian army to come here? It's our family. It's not Russian army. It's our family. They protect us.
And they started to use these people's stories in Russia, saying, you listen what these Ukrainians are saying. They are happy because the rest of Ukraine are total Nazi people who are forcing them to stop speaking Russian and only speaking Ukrainian. So basically, it all started from completely made up stories, and internet and time made it viral. And after telling this story hundreds of times in different versions, this is where this terrible theory about Ukrainians being Nazi came from, basically, which has nothing to do with reality. But some people are believing it's what it is.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have that.
It will be always like this. Everyone has different stuff happening on their mind.
After nearly 3 years of war and mounting casualties, fewer are willing to enlist. In 4 years, Natalia's 20-year-old brother could be on the front lines, and the hesitation is only growing.
These are the recruitment posters all around the city.
Yes.
What does it say?
Be powerful together with Azov Brigade. At the beginning of the war, mostly people wanted to do this. And now, with time passing and situation getting better and complicated, people started to be less enthusiastic because everyone who was motivated already joined. So the good spots, the good positions, they are already settled, people already occupy them this way. Now it's only dangerous positions, very hard and not nice paid options are left.
How does your brother feel about possibly joining one day?
I don't know if you know this meme on TikTok about chill boy, chill guy, but he's just I don't know. I wish I can be so emotionally stable as him. It feels like nothing bothers him at all. So he's just chill. Maybe he still feels so much confidence in war being over in 4 years, because until that moment he's fine.
Well, the thing is, we all thought that this war would be over right away. We thought that this wouldn't last as long as it has. Did you expect it to go well into 2024?
Me and my mom, we really thought it's going to be over in some weeks, 2
Yeah,
3 weeks.
we thought this was going to be a short conflict.
We were never, how is that possible in modern life? And we really thought it's going to be just regulated somehow. There are going to be negotiations very quickly. No one is going to kill civilians. No one is going to do this madness.
Bomb villages, bomb cities.
They said weeks, maybe a month. But years later, Kyiv moves on. Cars are honking, cafes buzzing. It's normal in its own way. And part of that normal is food, a break from it all. So we eat.
This is perfect traditional Ukrainian type of restaurant. It is one of those people really love. It's called Pervat.
Exciting. So this is called borscht with ribs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very traditional style looking.
Borscht. It's such an aggressive sounding word. Wow. That's so good. I think I might have had something like this in Romania once.
Yes, for sure. We pretty much have the same cuisine.
Yeah, I just like food. You know?
I like this reply,
Yeah, I just like food. What do you predict is going to happen? It was a big question, a broad question. But what do you think is going to happen?
I still believe in this fairy tale good ending. There should be good end for good people, good country. I don't know.
You think it's going to be a big compromise in order for this good to happen?
Maybe it will be something unpleasant, but with long-term good perspectives. But what I really don't want, to be honest, is when it's all over, I don't want world, and specifically Ukraine, forget Russia for doing what they've done. I mean, maybe it's very not correct to say like that, because there are lots of families in Russia where children are growing in society of their parents saying bullshit about Ukraine. So this new generation in Russia is already fucked up as well, thinking Ukraine is bad. So I think we can only talk about having any relationship with Russia in future after several generations, when it's going to be only new people. I have a TikTok page with 2 million followers, and that's mad what's happening in my comment section until this day. Like, Russians just texting terrible things, and these are just simple people, and this is what makes me realize.
How do you feel about them? Like, do you feel sorry for them? Do you pity them? Like, do you have some understanding of why they would feel that way? Or
I just really like to accept them as NPC, to be honest, like no real people, because it's just sometimes very scary. But sometimes these are very young people, which is again, parents are literally, they put in heads of these kids this information, because Putin is really this poker face, just saying to the world it's not them launching missiles, it's Ukraine bombing Ukraine, and people believe in this.
Wow.
How is that possible? I don't know.
And what is this called again?
Kiev chicken.
Kiev chicken. And what exactly is it?
This is just a decoration. This is what you just touched. You just take it away. You don't eat it.
Yeah.
This is just chicken, but cooked, with some sort of Kiev Ukrainian style.
And what did you get?
Just an ordinary meat and some grilled vegetables.
both the borscht and this Kiev chicken is like Ukrainian
Yeah.
cuisine.
Homemade moonshine.
Homemade moonshine. It honestly smells like lighter fluid. So you drink it first and then immediately wash it down with this donut.
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I feel like I'm like breathing flammable.
I mean, I have just some water if you need, but
I'm good. I'm here for the experience. Oh wow. What's the word for cheers in Ukraine?
budmo.
Budmo.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yes. You said it right. We will go now to the most luxury and famous Ukrainian university.
Okay.
It's gonna be red building in front of us. And I was also studying in that university.
What were you studying?
Political science. It's a bit specific choice of mine.
This really works for what you're doing.
I wrote my exams very good. And I received possibility to study for free in this very luxury, expensive university of Ukraine.
But your heart was in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Still is.
Oh my God.
I do believe one day you're going to find your way back to Chernobyl. I love that. You're following your heart. Yeah, you're right. You are a more emotional person.
Oh yeah.
And I think that honestly that really helps in life, to have a little less logic and more emotion, more passion. I think emotional intelligence is they call it EQ.
Wait. I thought it's something different. I thought you're talking about IQ or...
So IQ is more of the logic, it's more of your brother. His IQ is probably very high. I feel like your EQ is probably very high, and it doesn't make either of you smarter than the other.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. Yes, this topic is pretty deep, I guess.
I guess it's deep. So this is the college right here, the red building.
Yeah, we will go closer now, and I also wanted to say that in most of the cases right now in Ukraine, all monuments are protected like this. This is the statue of Ukrainian greatest writer, whose name is Taras Shevchenko. And the university we are staying in front of is also named after this Ukrainian greatest writer, Taras Shevchenko.
So if a missile strike happened, this structure that's built around this monument is designed to protect from shrapnel and any type of that's wild. And right here at the university, there's more recruitment posters.
Yes. There is always a little text with the name of the brigade.
This is the brigade number right here. They got drone pilots And look, it's a DJI drone, Mavic 3. A little bit of nerd info. This is wild seeing this right here at a university.
Yeah, I remember my first thought was the same.
Yeah, what a prime location to put it. And most people that are in the university, they're below the age of 25. So they're appealing to that age because they're about to be at the ripe age to join the military.
Oh, yes, because we discussed it's about to be decreased, most likely, and this is also fresh, so most likely this is all connected now.
So in America, we call it a draft, where the men are drafted into the military, even against their wish. What is it called here?
Do you want me to say it as Ukrainian word or?
Sure.
Примусова мобілізація. That's when it's done against the will. And sometimes it happens. This system is not very well known.
Any man between 25 and 60 can be conscripted, but the reality is a bit murkier. Students are generally safe. The right job, the right health condition, maybe. In Ukraine, draft notices don't just come at home. Sometimes they come on the street, in a cafe. For many men, it comes down to a choice: stay visible or hide. Some take the risk. Some don't leave their apartments for months. While I was here, I was told to keep my passport on me at all times. A precaution not just for ID, but to avoid being mistaken for a deserter. Just another layer of reality here.
And this right here is the university. This is probably one of the most posh universities
yes.
in all of Ukraine.
Yes, it is.
Look at all these other buildings next to it, like monotone colors. We got some gray, we got that, but this building right here is just a big pop of red with gold lettering at the top. What does the gold letter say?
This is the full name of this university, University of Taras Shevchenko.
And why is it red like this?
Well, the only answer on this question which we usually receive, because every time people who enter this university would ask the same question, it's just that like important buildings in past were painted in red color in Kiev because it's like looking different, immediately attracts attention.
Right.
This is the only like explanation, because it was always quite a building, not an ordinary one, as it is cool National University of Taras Shevchenko in Kiev.
So Nataliia was just telling me that the outside of this building, you could see how the paint's chipping right here and also right here along this red wall. And the reason why this paint's chipping is because just down the street over here, a missile hit. When did this happen?
It happened more than 1 year ago. I don't specifically remember the date, but it was like,
And this is still some remnants of the heat that came off the missile. And we're about to walk down there right now.
Somehow, luckily, well, I mean, you cannot really say luckily, but it was about 5 casualties, mostly the drivers of cars, because it was
right in the middle of the street.
Yes, and it was rush hour when people were driving to the work.
Around 8 o'clock?
Yes, specifically at 8 o'clock. And
do you think that was intentional?
Everything that Russia does, for my modest opinion, is intentional. All of this stuff they are doing, attacking civilian structures and just, civilians, is for psychological pressure. It's for making us scared and asking our president for going to negotiate, and, it's all intentionally.
So wild to see this statue right here being protected, and you can see these holes that have been put in this building around it. And then behind the statue here, there's a building, and you can see the scars all along this building from where the missile hit. And of course, this building right here with boards all along the window. This is wild, Nataliia.
And this is literally the city center, so...
The city center.
Kyiv wears its history, scarred but standing. 2 years ago, a missile hit here. You wouldn't even know it. Life moves on. And like the architecture, language here has its own defiance.
So I hear the dialect and the language difference between Russian and Ukrainian is quite different.
Yes, for example, I can tell you that Ukrainians we can speak and we can understand Russian language. But Russians, they cannot understand Ukrainian language. In Soviet Union, Russian language was the priority one. So all of us Ukrainians, we were forced to learn Russian. We know Russian, but Russians don't know Ukrainian because they never needed it. But they forced us to learn Russian in Soviet Union.
But language isn't the only thing that sets Ukraine apart from Russia.
This is one of the oldest monuments in entire Kiev. It's called Golden Gate. It was an official entrance to Kiev in the very old times. Construction of this one is 1073rd year.
1073?
Yes.
Wow. So this is old.
Saint Sophia Cathedral. These are historical places in the heart of city Kiev.
And this was built around 1000 AD. Kiev is such a beautiful city. The architecture is just incredible.
Kiev isn't just old, it's lived in. Every arch, every mosaic, every stone has seen something. It's a city built, broken, and rebuilt over and over again. But cities just don't sit still. They grow. They take on whoever walks their streets. And right now, more people are coming than ever. Some are chasing a new start, others because they have nowhere else to go.
Right now, the question of immigration is very big in Ukraine because many cities are occupied or destroyed in Ukraine. So people are moving around in entire Ukraine to find new home. And moving to Kiev is a very hard task because it's already over-occupied.
And more expensive.
It's
probably hard to find work here too.
Yes, it's all very complicated now, and it's very nice to understand. You was born here and you're not going through this hell as some people, unfortunately.
So after being in Germany for a year, how did it feel coming back to Ukraine?
The first month when I came back was the real paradise because I was like flying in heaven of my emotions of missing my home. So it felt adorable to be back. And I'm still happy, not regretting my decision.
Was there ever a moment you were afraid to come back?
No, because of like war issues, absolutely no.
Suddenly we turned a corner and there they are. Charred, rusted, gutted from the inside out, Russian war vehicles, lined up like trophies. Some people stop and stare while others take a quick photo and move on. You hear about the war, you see the headlines, but standing in front of these mangled machines, it stops being abstract. It's not a story, it's real, and it's ugly.
Why do you think they put this out on display? To basically send a message?
This installation here is not really for giving a message. It's more for boosting good
morale.
Morale of Ukrainians.
Right.
Yeah.
War isn't just fought on the battlefields. It's fought in minds and morale and the ability to keep going. And here in Kyiv, they don't need a reminder of what's been lost. They need proof that they're still standing.
So what is this big arch monument that we have ahead of us?
This arch is monument for friendship between Russia and Ukraine.
Oh, interesting. And is that why there's a big crack in it?
Yes, exactly. In 2014, when war started in Ukraine, this crack was put here, and there was much more Soviet monuments here. And as they've been smaller, they are already dismantled. But this one is way too big to do it easy and quick. And people think it's better idea maybe to recreate it in something else rather than just destroy it. So now we are considering different ideas how we can just change it because it's kind of a landmark.
Maybe a good idea is to put a big middle finger at the top of it and maybe point it to wherever Russia is.
We leave the monument behind and head to the overlook. The Dnieper River stretches for miles, cutting through the city.
You can see basically this arch from everywhere. It's a very lovely spot for
Oh, wow.
something big.
Yeah, you can see from miles from this view over here.
It takes a second to register, but then we see them. A couple holding each other, laughing. A gender reveal, a baby girl on the way. For a moment, nothing else matters. Just two people celebrating something simple and beautiful. The city hums in the background. The river flows. Life moves, changes, begins again. And in this moment, that's all there is.
Seems to be a lot of tourism here.
Oh well, it's central part of Kiev, so it's very favorite spots for people to walk around.
One of the busiest spots to be.
Yes, yes. It feels like this is the beginning of something. Hopefully not the World War III. Let's see what 2025 will bring.
Oh boy.
Are we ready for this?
Either way, it's going to be very interesting.
Yes, indeed. No.
I think this is a very pivotal moment in the war, especially with Trump just now coming into office. I think the whole world right now is watching and waiting to see what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever the air raid goes off, does that mean that there's an active bombing somewhere?
The air raid alarm is giving you warning about something, either missiles, either drones. So it's like a warning.
What's the protocol? You and I are walking down this sidewalk and there's an air raid alarm. What do we do and what is everyone else's reaction going to be if we were to hear this?
If we walk here and there is air raid, you would see no reaction at all. Like people would just keep doing the same stuff. There wouldn't be any facial emotions or any...
It wouldn't even break up their conversation.
Of course,
it's
no,
just
it's-
background noise at this
Yes.
point.
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
I came back to Ukraine promising to myself there is no way any air raid make me go to the shelter. Like, I know maybe it's not the best choice to follow, but I chose sleeping at night but not running away.
Well, yeah, also living in fear is just such a crippling way to exist.
Yeah, the atmosphere in shelters is crazy, like everyone is terrified.
It's just perpetuating the fear, and it's just making the whole situation even worse.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I chose not to do anything about it.
Here it's a different energy. People talking, buying, creating. Life doesn't stop. It never does.
I'm surprised to see that there's a lot of English-speaking people just walking around. Lots of Americans, actually. And here's St. Andrew's Cathedral up here on this hill. It looks like something out of a fairy tale. It's interesting, it's like, if you didn't know that there was a war going on, it just seems so normal here.
Yes, especially when you walk in places like this, the city center, the lovely, beautiful places where it's just nice to be around. There is no chance you can guess that there is something so cruel happening in Ukraine.
Yeah, so close by. I think it has something to do with the fact that the people here are extraordinarily strong.
Yes, the strength and the inside stamina is already well developed due to the current conditions.
Also, such deep history ingrained through generations.
The Ukrainian people dealt the entire history with some aggression, with some invasion. A big story, a big history of fighting for Ukraine's independence.
Wow, this is beautiful. And how old is this church?
Well, this church is also the same area of Kiev, so it is also the same
Time period.
time area of 1080.
There's lots of gold in this.
It's very typical, golden domes, golden decoration. And it's not gonna be a very long drive till the next location, so don't get too relaxed.
Don't get too excited about the warmth.
Yes.
Now we head to the next spot. No time to waste, because in Ukraine, the days run on a deadline. Under martial law, curfew isn't just a rule, it's enforced. Businesses shut down, streets empty, and if you're out past midnight, there's real consequences. It's just the new way of life here, and it's changed the entire culture of the country.
Ukraine, we used to have many around-the-clock places, clubs, restaurants. So many people from Europe knew about lifestyle in Kiev at night. Unfortunately, even though the curfew starts at 12 a.m., the biggest number of bars and restaurants, they are closed around 10 already because, they need time to finish everything.
Yeah, wow.
So it influenced so much.
Yeah, imagine that completely changed the culture.
Absolutely. People love to drive at night, just hanging out, just be outside, just, drinking, walking.
And now you can't do that.
No.
That's all been taken away. And what's the reason for the curfew, the government says?
Because most of the missile attacks are happening at night.
Why did they choose nighttime to do missile strikes?
Easy reply. It's such a shock. It's such a big psychological attack when you're waking up, to make people feel fear, to make people feel exhausted. You're not sleeping good. Then you're waking up all not happy, not satisfied. So,
Wow. That is the reason for the curfew.
yes. At winter now, you have your windows closed at night. So, of course, the noise of explosion is not as loud as when your window is open at summertime. That is why when it's winter time, I sleep better.
You're getting better sleep because you don't hear the explosions as loud. It's insanity.
She says it like it's nothing. You find peace in the small things, even if it's just a closed window. Nataliia says she wants to show me something, to see Kyiv the way it was, or maybe the way it wants to be, because soon we'll see the part that can't be ignored. The wreckage. But first, food. Again.
What area is this now?
Now we are walking with you in the very beautiful area which is called the Obolon district. It's considered to be a very lovely spot to live.
So we're gonna go eat now. My favorite thing to do. Let's see what this spot is all about. All right, thank you. This looks fancy. Food just came out. Give me a breakdown of what we're looking at.
So here we are looking at the specialty of this Ukrainian type of restaurant. These are Ukrainian potato pancakes. Basically,
Ukrainian
salty.
potato pancakes.
Yes, there is parmesan here, cheese, some mushrooms, so you can mix all of it. It's gonna be delicious. And here we can see cabbage rolls with meat inside and sour cream. So you gotta be eating like all of that. Dip it in sour cream and just eat it.
Okay, can confirm. These Ukrainian pancakes are ridiculously good. And these rolls here, I've never had anything like this before in my life. The food here so far has been like some of the best food I've had on this entire trip in Europe. And now we're about to get back in the car and she's gonna take me to the next spot. All right. You go take a nice little stroll. If it already wasn't cold enough, it just got way colder now that we're by the water. But this is so beautiful. Even on this foggy, ominous day, it's just gorgeous out here.
And this bridge was constructed during the May of 2024. It's just a lovely observational spot. So this is exactly where we are going to.
That's interesting. Even though the war's happening, they're still constructing things like this, working on the parks, making pedestrian bridges.
Yes, it's very important to keep going on with infrastructure, with everything, to not stop all these basic things for people which make life better, easier, more lovely. So it's very important.
Yeah, I agree. Life must go on.
Life must go on, but not everywhere. Some places don't get that luxury. Parts of the city move forward, but others stay frozen, left behind in the past they never saw coming. Up until now, I've seen Kyiv through the lens of resilience, its beauty, its culture, but war has touched every inch of this city. Some places have rebuilt, but others stay waiting. Nataliia wants to show me one of these places, a college, now buried under shattered glass and collapsed ceilings.
We're arriving at the Kyiv Cultural University, about to see some of this damage that was caused by missile debris. You can see how they haven't even begun to repair it. How long ago did this happen?
It happened 1 year and 6 months relatively ago.
So to be clear, this wasn't an actual missile strike. This was debris falling from the sky onto it?
It was exactly debris of missile.
And it looks like these buildings over here are relatively unscathed.
Every time there is any sort of destruction of the area around civilian buildings, it's always cars staying around, so it's always destruction of cars as well. So many cars which were parked here were also destroyed because of some debris.
And you can see that all these buildings right here surrounding this college are residential. These are all apartments here, and here across the street. Like, had that debris fallen, 20 feet in any other direction, it definitely would have caused some casualties.
The only problem after this debris was windows were broken because of the shock waves, but that's pretty much it.
And life goes on. I almost feel wrong or guilty for filming this, because at the end of the day, it is kind of a form of tourism what I'm doing, going around these places that are destructed by Russian forces. But I also think it's very important that the world sees this side of Kyiv and the harsh reality of what's going on here. So what are we about to see?
We are going to see now the destruction which was recently made to the residential buildings and the kindergarten inside of this residential area.
And this happened just a couple of months ago?
Like 5 months ago, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can already see piles of debris, some fire damage as well. So the burning debris coming down from the sky landed on this building and caused this fire. And just to get this straight, this right here is residential, correct?
This is the residential building. And this is the kindergarten.
This entire building also destroyed and burned. And they've already begun clearing out quite a bit of the buildings, getting it ready to be repaired. Wow. It's really surreal seeing this. I mean, we have a kindergarten right there. And had this been in any other time of the day, there's children that stayed all in this building that would have definitely been hurt or killed. And in this building right here, 7 or 8 people were killed and a bunch of others were injured.
The neighborhood is quiet, not peaceful, just hollow, like the air itself is still holding its breath. Clothes, mingled furniture, fragments of life scattered across the rubble. Ordinary things that once made up a home, now abandoned in an instant. This is the quietest I've seen her. No words, no sighs, just staring. Not because she's numb to it, she's just lived with it for too long. Watching your own city unravel, the streets you grew up on, the buildings you've passed 100 times, reduced to this. I can't begin to understand what that's like. No one can, until it's theirs.
Get a better look at this kindergarten here. Walking on top of all this debris. There could be nails sticking up from the boards. And look at this, guys. There's a playground right here.
The playground is now a grave to something that no longer exists. It feels wrong standing here, like I've walked in on something sacred, something not meant to be seen this way. There's no way to justify why a place like this should be left in ruins. War takes, but here it's taken something that can't be rebuilt, the kind of peace you don't notice until it's gone.
How do people generally feel about people like you and I coming out here taking photos?
They mostly accept it as the fact that it should be captured, it should be shown, people should not be silent about it. So it's more positive than a negative attitude to this. Pictures are the biggest evidence, the biggest proof of what is happening. It's just important to capture it. It kind of gives the hope that, yes, world is
Seeing
not
this.
forgetting and seeing it.
Yeah, I feel like photos can be sort of a weapon and a way to fight this as well, you know?
Yes, I totally agree on that. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting is that anyone can just walk up in this damaged area and there's no fences or any barriers to keep people out of it. Oh, wow. And here we are coming up on it. Oh my God. It's just so ominous out here. And were there any casualties?
This building, it was around 40 people.
40 people died in this. And no telling how many were injured. And there were some children among some of the casualties in this incident. And right here, there's a small memorial for some of the children that died.
The destruction here feels different, more personal. Bombed out apartments, burnt out cars, what's left of a life stripped to its bones. I try to make sense of it all, but there's no sense to be made. These were just kids. Kids with favorite colors, favorite games, dreams that would never be realized. And now this is all that's left. Toys and the dirt.
And this happened 6 months ago. And still these buildings are complete disrepair right now. It's gonna be a long time till anyone's able to live in these apartment buildings again. And this one right here is completely destroyed. This gap between these two buildings, this used to be one building. I mean, this is insane. And you can only imagine whoever lived right here didn't make it out alive. I just can't even comprehend what I'm looking at. My mind just can't make sense of it all. Even when those men walked us and started talking to us, it just now it seems like it's kind of ingrained in your everyday life. Having this destruction, having this war.
It's like part of reality, part of life. You accept it.
Okay, so here we are coming up on another apartment building that just 3 weeks ago, more missile debris came crashing down on it, and you can see the top of the building had caught fire. But luckily, the middle floors and all the way down were completely spared. You can already see how they're starting to repair the building, putting boards over the windows and beginning reconstruction.
Out of nowhere, an elderly woman walks over.
Я вже другий раз приходжу, коли на другий день таке тут горе було, то я приходила тут, збирала, тому що я допомагаю нашій церкві.
No, she's just saying that that's pretty common. People come here to the territory of church. She's just here in the church quite often, and she just was wondering if you're one of all of the same people who are coming here for recording this.
Ну все, до побачення, всього вам доброго. Переведіть людині.
Дякую, да.
Приїжджайте почаще. А якби ще нам Америка допомогла і Європа, це було б ще краще. Бо як тільки ніч, так починаєш труситися. До побачення і всього вам доброго. Приїжджайте до нас. До побачення. Всього доброго.
Дякую.
What exactly was she saying?
Just typical Crane is talking about literally everything in the world. At first she started saying that she speaks French, that first that she was speaking more Russian language, now she is changing Ukrainian language, and she was saying thank you for coming to Ukraine and supporting to Ukraine. She wished America helped a little more with weapons and everything. She was just saying that she likes this church and it's not many people here and all of this sort of this stuff.
Yeah, so it seems like generally people are really inviting here, and they're really glad that people are here from other parts of the world documenting this and showing the rest of the world what's going on.
Yes, people are very welcoming here. In general, of course, it's nice to see the curiosity of foreigners. It's nice to know that Ukraine is remembered and foreigners come to see how it looks like in real, not just reading the news, which can be really exaggerated sometimes, or some part of this news can be pro-Russian news as well.
Right.
So that's why everyone is happy to see the foreigners.
Out of all the European countries that I've visited so far, I'd say Ukraine is probably the friendliest I've been to. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The Motherland Monument comes into view, its steel silhouette rising over Kyiv. It's one of the largest monuments in all of Ukraine, standing 9 meters taller than the Statue of Liberty. And it's one of the most controversial too. A relic of the Soviet era, its meaning depends on who you ask. To some it's a symbol of strength, to others it's a reminder of a past they'd rather leave behind. Either way, it stands tall, unmoving. It's like it's seen it all and doesn't care what anyone thinks. But serious history lesson aside, now for the real question. Asking for a friend, totally not me.
So, I gotta ask, like, what's the dating scene like in Ukraine? Obviously, that's a pretty important topic. People are always gonna date. They're gonna eat. They're always gonna need medical help. They're always gonna need sleep, and they're always gonna want to date.
We always love a lot of effort put into dating. It always feels a bit of disrespectful for women to be just invited for a walk.
Well, what's so different about Ukraine women rather than like any other woman? I feel like women love effort. I feel like people love effort.
It's just hard for me to explain, but it's just internationally well-known fact that Ukrainian and Russian women are one of the most beautiful women in the world. Like, it's just a classy fact.
And in order to have this woman in your life, you really need to like put in the effort.
Yes,
put
many
in the work.
foreigners having these dreams of having a Ukrainian wife, and in most of the cases,
I've heard of this.
and the beauty industry here is extremely developed, and it's quite affordable here. All of it gives you the fantastic result of very good-looking woman. Women spend a lot of money, time, and effort to look like, beautiful woman. So that is why she wants lots of effort, for what she is looking like. But I understand what you mean by saying everyone likes it. It's just that in Ukraine it's like really strong. It's
Okay. So
On
it's
another
definitely
level.
amped up on another level.
yeah.
But just like that, the conversation dies. Now we're surrounded by something raw, heavy. The towering sculptures of the Soviet era rise over us, dark, looming, unshakable. The wreckage of the current war placed among them. The weight of history sits heavy in the air.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's very Soviet. It's one of those things, though. It's like, do you wipe away this history? Or, like what you said, maybe even repurpose it or modify it?
To be honest, it's quite hard to imagine what can you do particularly with this part of this area.
Right. Yeah, this is so Soviet.
But you can look at the shield of Motherland monument. It's just recently that it was changed. So this was showing it's no longer a Soviet heritage. It's more about Ukrainian history now.
Okay, so these were Russian tanks and now they're repainted with the Ukraine colors. I love the attitude, the big fuck you to Russia, basically.
The Motherland monument itself is pointed and looking to the direction of Russia, Moscow. It's that direction. This is 190 meters in height, so I don't know how you can actually hide it properly. That is why it's just standing like this.
Plus, it's probably not as protected because they don't care about it as much.
Yes, and we kind of feel it's the last place which would be targeted or anyhow touched. There is no sense. So
it
we're
wouldn't do
very
any
right
good.
on it. No.
So here we are in Kontraktova Square. Did I say?
It is Kontraktova Square.
Kontraktova
Yes, correct.
Square. Cool. That's where we're at. And back before the war, this square was the epicenter of the nightlife of Kyiv. Nightclubs, bars, completely shoulder to shoulder packed with people. And now it's mostly just a chill area with shopping centers, coffee shops, restaurants. Still a really cool area. I love the Ferris wheel in the background over there. I can see why this would be the nightlife center.
Right. At Christmas time, this area is also very lovely decorated. There are some small Christmas markets as well. But right now, to be honest, it's a bit controversial topic about safety to stay in city center, because the point is, for example, this spot has so many military-related places.
Oh, interesting. So basically a lot of these buildings surrounding this area are military buildings. So this would be a prime target area.
Yes. That is why the Radisson Blu Hotel, for example, I wouldn't say this is the best option for staying right now, because the air raid is super loud here as well.
So this is basically a charity for Army needs, and he's got all this equipment out here to show basically all the stuff that they're needing. What's up, man? Wow. Wow.
To be honest, there are so many people who are constantly trying, to collect money for all these army needs, and it's getting a little exhausting, to be honest, because Every single Ukrainian obviously participated in this, and at some point you were just, already invested so much money into this, so you just don't really have much more or even desire to give more, and you feel like not good about not participating, but you already did that several times. So this is how a very big generator which produced electricity, which helped produce electricity for years, was destroyed. And this is just to show people that blackouts we have right now
is caused by these being destroyed.
It's for a reason. Not because government is just taking away light. It's just because the damage is happening and it's real. And the installation is called Fight for Light.
And I love how the government's not keeping people in the dark, so to speak. They're keeping people updated on what's actually going on.
It's correct, because sometimes with all these shutdowns of electricity,
people are going to have questions.
Yes, if this is for real happening, or because I'm also mad very often with all of it, but kind of understandably happening.
It doesn't feel dangerous at all to be here. It doesn't feel like I don't get the sense of danger from any of these people whatsoever.
The point is, that's true. Government recommends people to stay out of places like this, but they cannot forbid us. They recommend. So no one actually, follow this rule. That is why we still have this controversial situation of many people being around these potentially risky spots to be hit. But again, it's only choice of people, to leave, no matter what. And as far as you can see, there is no air raid right now. So yeah, there is no air raid, meaning it's all right, at least for the current moment.
Ukraine is a place caught in between past and future, between war and normal life, between fear and defiance. Walking through Kyiv, it's sometimes easy to forget there's a war at all. People are here, living, laughing, sharing drinks with friends, even as an invisible shadow lingers over the city. But maybe that's the point. Maybe choosing to live, despite the danger, is its own act of resistance. But this war isn't just an abstract threat. It isn't just a risk people acknowledge and push aside. It's left scars, deep ones. When I first came to Ukraine, I thought I was just coming to see Kyiv, to explore the culture, to understand life in a city at war. But now I realize I'm on a journey I didn't expect, one that's pulling me deeper into this country, deeper into its reality. I don't know why, but I feel like I have to keep going. And I have a feeling if I follow this pull, it's going to take me all the way east, closer to the front. But for now, I need sleep, all that I can get, because tomorrow we head to Bucha.
Almost 100% of this village was completely destroyed.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. This trip to Ukraine has been more eye-opening than I ever expected, and there's still so much more to see. If you found this video insightful, feel free to like it and share it. It really helps. There's a lot more to come, so if you want to keep following this journey, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, stay off the beaten path.